So I got a question for you. We lived in Spain for 4 years.
Yes, we did.
What did you learn about what it means to be an American while living in Spain?
The world is paying attention to us.
Yeah, they are.
Hello and welcome to the Resilient Lineage podcast, where we reflect on the past, anticipate the future, and discover what God is up to today. I'm Olivia.
And I'm Milo.
Yeah, and to go back to your question, you literally just laid this question on me like 2 minutes ago. And I say that to say, when we lived in Spain, I was in 7th grade. I really hadn't had anything like super unique or distinct or living in a super different culture, because to move from North Carolina to Spain is a jump. And where we were on base was right across from Spanish housing for all like the captains.
Spanish military.
The Spanish military.
Yeah.
So, like the first week of us living there were Spanish girls that would come over and be like, hola, like, do you want to play at the park? And I'd go over there and like, it was almost like I was famous for being an American. And they're like, where in America did you live? Mm. And I was like, Oregon. They're like, we don't know what that is.
Yeah,
but it's in America.
A lot of people don't know where Oregon is.
No, and so I don't know. Like, I just took like a lot of pride in that there are people that view this country as like something special and something unique and freeing. But I feel like it can be pretty mundane, and we lose sight of that living in America.
Today on the podcast, we have
a special guest,
the Honorable Command Master Chief Hans Valdespou. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please give it up for him? He is coming to us all the way from the great state of Norfolk, and he is coming to us with a sense of excitement and joy and passion. Hans, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Before we go any further, I need to do one thing so that we keep everything above board, and don't want to get in trouble. The views and opinions expressed herein are our own, and they do not reflect the official policy or position of the United States Navy, Department of Defense, or the United States government. Any conclusions drawn or statements made are solely the responsibility and shall not be attributed to any affiliated organizations or entities.
Thank you for getting me out of trouble.
I know. We just saved ourselves from getting into the brig. Yeah. I actually put it at the bottom of our website now.
Do you actually?
Yeah, it's in the footer, so that we should be legally covered.
We should have that for when I mention Chick-fil-A.
Positions of the United States Navy, Department of Defense, United States government, or Chick-fil-A. Is that we need to add that in there?
I think so.
Well, I share that because obviously we are legally covering our bases, but there is also this piece. You and I know one another because we served at the same command with one another. You were the Command Master Chief of the United States, the USS Porter, DDG 78. And I was the command chaplain, and we had a great working relationship. I always had in my vision what that relationship with the CMC, Command Master Chief, could be. Mm-hmm. And I was fortunate enough to be able to step into that with you. And I'd like to think we became friends pretty quick.
Pretty quick.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I never thought that as a Cuban immigrant, I was going to have a great relationship with the chaplain. I don't know if that makes sense.
That wasn't in your that wasn't on your bingo card.
No.
Well, okay. So one of the things that I found, having been in the Navy now for about 10 years, you're going on how many years in the Navy now? 30 years in the Navy. So he could have gotten out right when I was getting in. Isn't that crazy to think about?
Yeah.
So one of the things I found, and this was a surprise to me, is how many service members, because I've had the chance to serve with the Marines and the Navy. So how many of our service members that are immigrants hold a very deep sense of what it means to be a patriot, far more than what I
expected?
not expected, because I never really thought about it. To my shame, I never really thought of what it meant to be a patriot outside of maybe, when you're in elementary school, they may cover some section in U.S. history, or, in high school, you talk about it a little bit and things. And then 4th of July, everybody's flying their American flags, and we have our day of, fireworks and things like that. So I never really thought of what it meant to be a patriot from the lens of being an immigrant. But as I've been I've had the chance to know quite a few chaplains that are immigrants, and they carry a deep and abiding appreciation for what it means to be an American. And I've learned a lot from those folks over the years. And when I met you, Hans, it was like I sensed that similar type of thing. Initially, I didn't know your story. In fact, I really got to know your wife first before I met you, because I knew I was going to the ship. Your wife was the ombudsman. And so I had the chance to sit down with her while you guys were deployed. And I asked her the question, I'm like, hey, I knew the chaplain that was on board, the good work that had been done. But then I had a lot of questions about what else could be done. Like, what could this relationship look like? And she really helped color in some things for me that I think positioned me really well to have my head in a good space. And right away, I wanted to get to know you.
Yeah. For those of you that are listening right now and know about a little bit about military life, the CMC wife cannot be an ombudsman. But in this case, we didn't have one. Yeah. So she had to jump into that role while we were in Spain.
It was a really unique set of circumstances.
Yes. So I mean, I just want to clarify that, because it's a
and it was a temporary position.
It's a temporary position.
Yeah, we ended up finding somebody else.
We were outside the country Spain, our home port, right? So she had to fill in, and that's how you met her.
Yeah, and it was in that context of meeting her and then meeting you that I think she had told me you guys were from Cuba or something like that, but that wasn't at the forefront of my mind. But then as I got to know you, I was like, wow, there's something about that immigration and coming to the United States and then choosing to wear the cloth of our nation. That is there's a lot of lessons to be learned from people who have made those series of choices. Yeah. And so, not only, Hans, are you obviously a good friend, I count you as a good friend, and I consider, like, you've helped sharpen me, and I think that's been mutual. But I asked him a few weeks ago, I said, hey, or months ago now, I said, what would you think about being on the podcast? And you're like, yeah, sure. Let's figure that out. And I said, well, here's the angle I want to come at it from. Because I know you've been asked to speak on leadership. You've been asked to speak to the enlisted of what it means to be a good sailor, or what it means to, there's all these kind of, on the professional side of the house, things that folks would have you speak to, which is great. And you're incredibly capable at that. I want to kind of come to that more personal side of things, of what are those, as a person of faith, as a person who is a sailor, as a person who's in a significant position of leadership in your life now, like, what does it mean to appreciate what it means to be an American as it shapes your life? So we've got a series of questions here that we're going to ask, and we're just kind of open the floor up and kind of move our way through this. But the intent is for all of us to, I think in America right now, to say we have a complicated relationship with the idea of immigration is probably an understatement, between legal and illegal, and like, how do we understand all of those things? And I think I really want to kind of cut through all that and go, why is it, or what is it about America? What is it about that we can learn from those that have immigrated here that can help us that didn't have that experience really deeply appreciate what it means to be an American, perhaps from a vantage point that we typically don't take the time to hear from. So, with that said,
yeah, I'll go ahead and open up. Again, this is coming around Memorial Day as to why.
Armed Forces Day.
Armed Forces Day. Sorry.
Yeah. Memorial Day is going to be next week. Yeah, we're recording this earlier. So because of the way our schedules are. So Armed Forces Day, I put it in the notes. Do you want to read through
did?
these? Yeah.
Oh, Armed Forces Day. Yeah. So are those who wear the uniform, and the Memorial Day is those who died in the uniform, and then Veterans Day is those who wore the uniform. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Hans. I feel like I should just call you Mr.
Why?
Or
Command Master
Command
Valdespou.
Master.
No. Please call me Hans.
Command
Yeah,
Master
sit up
Chief.
straight when you talk to him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and attention.
Let me stand.
Such a thing of sitting at attention that you need to do, and take your cover off. I'm sorry,
My headphones.
Fix that gig line.
So, what is your immigration story? I know that's pretty a broad question, but answer as you will.
Yeah. Well, like I said before, I'm from Cuba, Havana, Cuba, to be more exact. I grew up there. I went to school there. The beginning of a high school here in America, more or less equivalent to. So nothing. Grew up as a young child with my mother. My dad was not in the picture. My mother was a single mom.
What did she do to put food on the table?
Oh man, well, Cuba, right? Cuba is everybody knows Cuba is a communist country. Again, you do what the government tells you to do. You shop whatever the government tells you to shop. Every month you have an amount of food, so to speak, that you have to go and get. You cannot get extra food. You cannot get as long as you're getting what you are getting for that month. So she's a teacher. She teach literature and Spanish language to high school students in Cuba. A very smart woman. She got her degree. She is a funny story about her because she was, when you grow up in Cuba, you grow up in schools, they teach you everything about communism. So they indoctrinate you about communism. So my mother taught that. My mother was a very, very, very hardcore Castro fan. She even went to the mountains, to the country, to teach country people, to teach the Spanish and literature and all that stuff for the government. So.
And this would have been in the 70s and 80s, right?
This would have been, yes, 70s, 80s. That's what she did. Because I was born in 1976. So, she was young. And before that, she did that in the 70s. And then in the 80s, she kept doing it. But things got a little bit more complicated in Cuba during that time. My grandparents raised me in Cuba. So they came to the United States during the, Mariel? I don't know, the 1980, the Mariel. That's when Castro let everybody come here. So my grandparents told my mom, let's go. And my mother, of course, she was a believer of the government. So she said, no, we're staying. So my grandparents came and left us there by ourselves. So it was only my mom, me, my mom, and my aunt. That's it. And my father's family, but my father was non-existent, so I didn't see him that often. So, so that's what she did to put food on the table, right? We lived in a little apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment, and I grew up there. And it's a city called Luyano. It's part of the Havana city. If you can imagine, it's a city. Like, if you think about Cuba, a lot of people think, well, it's country, a lot of fields and stuff. No, you got the Havana. Havana is the main city. So that's what I grew up at. Went to school there. I loved school. Again, I said before that we get indoctrinated into the government stuff. So I grew up with a communist mentality. I was a hardcore, it's your country. Little kids grow up in countries they don't want to leave.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. That's where you live at.
That's home.
That's home. So it is your home. So we lived there. I was happy as I can be. The thing is that in Cuba, you got to grow up fast. So you burn faces. Meaning, When you're 12, you got to act like a 20-year-old, right? When you're 13, you got to act like a 25, right? So you got to grow up fast, because if not, the system will eat you alive, meaning you're not going to survive.
Because it doesn't tolerate naivety. It doesn't tolerate having an imagination.
Right.
Like those are things I think of when you're young. You know, you want to play, you want to have an imagination, you want to explore, you want to, you know, there's some innocence you carry within the world. Those are often some of those things that get lost as you grow older, right? Because you realize, man, the world can be a brutal place. Is that what you're saying?
That's kind of what I'm saying, yes. You're still going to play and you're still going to have a relationship with your friends, but at the same time, everything is so selfish in that place where you grow up. It's everything about you, right? Yeah. And in order for you to survive, in order for you to move forward, you have to be able to do things on your own in a matter that the other person is behind. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
You got to like
be self-reliant.
Self-reliant, exactly, right? And that's the world I lived in. I mean, a little bit of my relationships, and hopefully my wife don't kill me, but I was 15 years old. My girlfriend was 25.
Really?
And that was okay. I mean, of course it was okay for me, but for everybody else, that was okay. And my mother didn't know about it. I mean, she knew about it, but it was not.
She didn't. Yeah, it wasn't.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, right? We don't work in Cuba. Young adults, teenagers don't work.
When do they start working?
After the university, maybe.
Oh, so everybody goes to university though?
Everybody
or
goes
a
to
trade
university.
School?
Yeah, everybody goes because it's free.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So you go. There's no jobs, and you're not gonna get you're not gonna advance. You're not gonna get paid for what you do. You will always get paid the same thing.
Yeah. So if you were the smartest person in the class and the most intelligent and capable of inventing the most beneficial thing for
it doesn't matter.
Humanity, it doesn't matter. You're getting paid the same as the person who, might be a nice guy, but they're not the brightest tool in the tool shed, and they carry a very elemental set of skills.
As long as you don't work for the government. If you work for the government, you're going to get paid money, and you're going to have a lot of things that not a lot of people have.
And but not everybody.
Not everybody gets to work for the government.
Okay.
Right. It's a lot of red tape, a lot of stuff that you got to do. I mean, again, when I came over to the United States, I was 15. So I didn't get too much into that yet. Like I was about to get into that, but I didn't get it because my mother decided to come to the United States. I didn't want to. I have my 25-year-old girlfriend. Who wants to go,
Yeah.
So why would I want to come to the United States?
So what for her was that change of decision?
Missing my grandmother, and things were getting a little bit rough, meaning...
Because this would have been 1991.
1991.
Yeah.
Things were getting rough.
Because, for historical context, Iron Curtain has fallen in Russia at this point. So there's no more USSR, which was a huge backer to the Cuban, or to the Castro Communist Party. And so that's being restructured in Europe, which I imagine has an impact in Cuba.
Huge
Massive impact in Cuba. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's an interesting context. So the sight picture in Cuba is changing.
It's changing completely. Like not a lot of they gave every student bicycles to go to school. So I got a bicycle to go to my high school, right? Which is pretty interesting, right? Everybody. Now, the only reason you get a bicycle is because you're sympathizing with the government and you are leaning towards, because you are going to serve the military, whether you like it or not.
So it almost becomes a symbol.
Right.
If you have have that bicycle,
right, and
it means you're for the party. You're going to join the service.
You're going to join the service. You're going to work for the service, and you're going to be. Now, don't get me wrong, right? The government facilitated a lot of great things for the people that want to be with the government. I had a friend that had everything: air conditioner in the house, color TV, because his dad worked for an embassy. right? A Cuban embassy somewhere. I forgot what it was. But this kid had everything, right? Because the dad worked for the government. My aunt was a psychologist. And my aunt is just like my mother. My mother and my aunt are twins. So they're like, I have two mothers, right? So, but my aunt was a psychologist, not getting a lot of money because the government didn't recognize that as a
need,
or a very good job to do for the people, right? So she was a psychologist. She was in a clinic practicing her career, but she was getting what, 100 pesos a month? That's nothing. If you do the math now, I think it's $50 is 1 peso or something like that. I don't know. So, like, or 50 pesos is $1. Right? So, again, not a lot of things going on for us. My mother is here in the United States. My grandfather has a heart attack. So now my mother wants to come to the United States to see her grandma. So we created the process of coming to the United States. Back then in 1991, the dream was to have this beautiful blue American passport. That's the dream. That's the dream. I remember being little. That was a dream. So,
no, where'd that dream come from? Like, how'd you even know that was a thing?
Because you have family in the United States, right? I have uncles in the United States. We got I was born in 1976. My grandmother came in 1980. So she continued bringing stuff to us, right? And as a kid, yeah, you still want to live in your home, but you're like, man, I would like to have some tennis shoes because I cannot have that here. So my grandmother would bring it.
Did you have American TV programming?
No.
In Cuba?
No, we had 2 channels, Channel 6 and Channel 3, I think. And everything was about, when I remember, I used to get upset because when I wanted to watch something and Castro was speaking to the public, both channels would play Castro speaking. So I'm like, yo, come on,
Come on. It's still like that. Why am I watching this?
And I'm like, give me a break. I want to watch baseball or something. So it's black and white TV. I didn't have my color TV until I was 13, 12. So, but again, that's everything coming from the United States, right? Because my grandmother was there.
Yeah.
Was here. So that's how I knew about. And then I had my uncle visiting us from the United States to Cuba because his wife was Puerto Rican. So Puerto Rico is part of the United States, so they could travel to Cuba. So a lot of stuff of that, right? So I remember every adult in Cuba dream was, let me get that.
Getting this blue passport.
So to my point is that my grandfather started making the paperwork for me to come over with my mother and my little brother. Now, something that I want to make clear, right? During the time in Cuba, my mother had a stepfather that was instrumental to me growing up. Right? My father was out of the picture, remember? And it was only my mom. And then I have my stepdad. They had a child, my brother now. But he was instrumental as a father figure while I was in Cuba.
In what way?
How to be a man. How to be an adult. How to respect people. How to do things to respect my mother, the person that brought me to this world, right? It gave me all those principles in life that are important for somebody to grow up, right?
Yeah.
Now, in the meantime, later on, my mother and him got divorced, and my little brother grew up without his dad. And there's a point that later I'm going to tell you why it's so important, that piece right there. So my grandfather does the paperwork. He pays money. I think he paid over $25,000 for us to come over back then. And we came with the residency card.
So what does that mean? Because there's like green cards, there's
green card,
student visas.
a green card.
So it's a green card.
It's a green card. It's basically you do all the paperwork, you pay all the money, and when you pull in the airport or when you fly into Miami, You go inside a room and they give you all the documents for you to create your legal status in the United States. Everything has been done before I even go there.
Whoa.
So that's
big stuff.
I'm very fortunate that that's how I came here, right?
And that's but that's a kind of a one-way road, right? Like if somebody comes to the United States, how easy is it to go back and visit Cuba at the time?
Back then,
Yeah.
it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy at all.
So in many ways, once you leave,
Yeah, that's it.
yeah, you might not ever come
That's
back.
it. I haven't been back. But yeah.
Oh, really?
You know, I haven't been back. So, and I can explain later why. I mean, I don't want to. And a lot of people gotta be, oh my God, it's complicated. It's complicated. But yeah, so there's the system that worked for us. We had to wait. We had the opportunity to wait. We had the chance. We had the good grace of waiting while this paperwork is getting done in Cuba. And then ask permission to the Cuban government. You always got to ask permission to them. You got to pay the money to them, and then they'll let you go. But everything was set. So that's my story in Cuba.
Which is a really fascinating thing, because I think as an American, that is so foreign to how I perceive my relationship with the government. What do you mean you're going to tell me if I can leave? Of course I can leave. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now, maybe you can determine if I should come back, right? Like, because maybe I've done something while I was gone I shouldn't have done. But, you know, there's this piece of like, what do you mean? But that's the situation for so many countries. Like, you're not allowed, there's not freedom of movement.
I came to the United States when I was 15 years old, February 15, 1991.
Happy anniversary.
Oh, yeah, yes.
24 years this year. 34 years. 34 years this year.
That's crazy. But that is the age group where they start getting people to the military.
In Cuba.
In Cuba. So my mother was like, if we don't leave now, you're not going to be able to leave again. Because once they draft you,
you're in.
That's it. Your mother can come, but you are not going to come.
So really critical time. You're like in the red zone. If we do not go now, I'm not going.
And then I would have been by myself in Cuba, basically.
Were you at the time, 15-year-old kid, were you mindful of the gravity of the situation at the time?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. I mean, I was, again, I have my life. And I was okay because I was surviving.
Well, you made it as good as you could make it, sounds like.
Yeah.
In light of what was available to you.
Of course. My grandmother would bring stuff to Cuba. I lived there with my friends, everybody else around me. I used to go to school. I was very popular in school. I was good. I'm 15 years old. And then the hit was when I came to this country, though. That's what hit me. Because teenagers, young adults, have difficulty adjusting when you move them to one place to another. My kids, when I move them all around the world, they have, rightfully so, they have difficulty adjusting. Mm-hmm. You know that?
Yeah.
Right, Olivia? Mm-hmm. So I had a very difficult, I didn't speak English. So, got it. I went to Miami. Miami, they said first language is Spanish. But I went to Miami, but I didn't know English. So high school was, I lived with my grandmother in a one-bedroom apartment and sleeping on the sofa.
Wow.
She lived in a old folks building.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Illegally, I lived there, by the way.
Yeah, sure.
Because they don't let you live there.
Yeah.
Only them were supposed to. But I lived there. And that's how I spent my entire high school years in that building. Where it has a door, I remember, it was crazy. So it was a very hard, I had to adapt to that. From a place where I know to this place now where I cannot even walk in the streets, right? Because let's face it, right? Everything in the United States, different lifestyle, basically. In Cuba, you walk everywhere, you take buses, you bicycle, right? Go ahead and take a bicycle in 64 and see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? So again, so it was a very, I had to adapt to that environment.
You know, one of the things I think is true is that really it's in the context of uncertainty that it is while demanding a lot of change of an individual, that the character of the individual is revealed, right? Guess when I'm going to become impatient, it's probably in that context. Guess when I'm going to choose kindness or unkindness, it's probably going to be in that situation. Whether or not I'm going to choose to be honest or dishonest, if I'm going to choose to do the right thing or do the selfish thing, like the sort of crucible of uncertainty in the context of radical change reveals within us so much of who we actually are, not who we can pretend to be. Because when we have a sort of a structured tradition and expected environment, that's not the word I'm looking for, like a structured where I can anticipate things. Anyway, that I can sort of, there's a lot of things within my soul that don't get exposed during that time. But you put yourself in a situation where you're unfamiliar with the structure, and what is coming is unanticipated. It's unexpected. That's all of a sudden you begin to see, like, this is the dark side of who I actually am. All those kind of weaknesses, vulnerabilities, insecurities, all of that rises up to the surface, which I think is one of the reasons why I recently read, somebody wrote, people do not fear change, they fear the pain that change causes. And so in light of that, as you're going through this period, what is some pain that you're experiencing? Like, there's unfamiliarity, but like, are you missing friends and, back home? How connected? I mean, even though it was family that brought you to the States, are you very connected with them? Like, what is that? What are the different pain points in your life during that time?
It was a very lonely place. I was by myself alone, right? Miss my friends, miss my culture, right? Even though I'm in Miami and it's a big Cuban culture, but still, I didn't have a car. I didn't have to go. I couldn't go anywhere. So you miss your life, basically. You miss everything that has to do with your life, how your life was, playing baseball, dancing in the rain, literally. It will rain in Cuba, and you will go to the streets and play in the streets under the rain, right? You will go to your neighbor's house. You will scream the name of your neighbors in the street. Yeah, So you miss that culture, right? Mm-hmm. So to my next point, because of that, I believe that every immigrant, I'm not saying every, but the majority, because the way I felt, I had to start thinking about myself, start being selfish, a lot of temptation, right? Because when you feel selfish, when you wanna do something that you wanna do, regardless of who's around you, you are tempted to do things that are not really good things. And that's everything that I felt when I came in the United States, into the United States. I was raised in a communist environment, so God was non-existent, right? Even though my grandmother was Catholic, I was never taught God, Bible, none of that. That was non-existent in my life. And I was very isolated. Yes, I went to high school, but I would go to high school and would come back home, and then I would repeat it again. The weekends, I didn't have anything. Just enclosed. And I'm not telling you this so you can feel sorry for me. It was just a reality. I was inside an apartment, one bedroom, living in a sofa, weekends,
You're not going to invite anybody over.
Nobody's going to invite anybody. Yeah. I don't have nothing. My mother was trying to survive the life in this country.
What did she do for work?
She worked in a factory. So then later on, we got a place, we call it efficiency. I don't know if you know what that is. Basically, I call it, you sit in the bed and you brush your teeth at the same time. So everything is around you, right? There's no room structure. So we moved there because we couldn't be in my grandparents'.
Yeah.
And we moved there, and then my mother worked in a factory at night, 2200 to 7 in the morning. Remember, I had a little brother. So I had to take care of my little brother. I don't like to cook, Milo. I don't like cooking. Maybe that's because of that. But I remember eating hot dogs every day and give my little brother milk. So again, I had to grow up. I'm 16 years old, but I have to grow up, right? And taking care of my brother and survive there by myself. Well, my mother is working, and then she comes back. She will come back, take me to school, and start all over again.
For how long did you guys do that for?
I would say 2 years.
Where's your stepdad during all this?
My stepdad stayed in Cuba.
Oh, wow.
So it was only
he's out of your life.
He's out of my life.
Wow.
My stepdad is out of my life.
So when your mom came to the States, it wasn't just leaving Cuba, it was leaving her husband?
She was divorced before that, before we left.
Okay.
So yeah. So everything was done. And the reason why I brought it up is because, again, I told you, there's a lot of, when I came to this country, there was a lot of selfishness because you are not expecting anybody to give you anything. You have to work everything on your own. I don't have anybody here.
Is it selfishness or self-reliance? Or what do you think is the difference between those two?
Because it's a lot of us want to do I guess self-reliance is the right word, because we want to every day we want to accomplish something. So no matter what you put in front of me, I'm going to go over it and I'm going to try to accomplish what I need to accomplish. That's why I believe that every immigrant that we have in our military is self-reliant, or they'll
figure out a way.
They'll figure out a way because they don't want to go back to that life again.
Yeah, because they're trying to. It's sort of like, it's like a rocket leaving the planet. There's this gravitational pull that wants to keep you in a particular place, and getting beyond that gravitational pull. Once you're beyond that, oh my gosh, the amount of power you have to be able to keep excelling is rather remarkable. But there's this pull initially that wants to keep you in a grounded.
But remember, God was not in my life, so it was all about myself, what I want to do, what I like to do, what it gives me pleasure, what it makes me happy, without noticing or I don't care who I affect, as long as it's to my benefit.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a really interesting point, because I didn't have God in my life. I didn't care about anything. I was just looking at my mom working so hard for us, and I was like, I don't want to. Like, I got to do something. Like,
So you go from that, come to America. How are you defining or learning what it means to be an American?
Because when you are in Cuba, in my case, there's nothing in the future for you. There's nothing that you can reach. There's nothing
to aspire to.
Huh. No matter how hard you work, no matter how hard you study, no matter how hard you do anything, you're always going to receive the same thing. When I come to this country, I realize that that's backwards. That's here. The harder you work, the more you get. If what you're getting, how you work is very relevant to what you get, right? So like if I'm working hard, if I want a nice car, I gotta work. If I want a nice house, I gotta work for it. There's always something attainable.
Yeah.
Over there, no matter what you do,
It's not going to matter.
it's not gonna matter. That's why it's so selfish.
Unless, well, tell me if this is wrong. Unless you find yourself able to further the party cause,
Of course.
then you'll be rewarded. It's more. It's you didn't earn it. You're being rewarded for it by the
Yes.
party that's in control.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but that's not you thinking anymore.
Right.
That's somebody else thinking.
Yeah,
for
you're
you.
subservient to the party. At
So
that point.
you're doing whatever they want you to do. So that is the difference. That's when I realized here, right? Like the American dream, right? We always talk, what is the American dream? The American dream is the white picket fence, the house, the family, the dog, the cat, right? But I believe it's something greater than that. It's the ability of a human being to do something to get a reward for what you do every day. And that's purpose and meaning, right? So kind of purpose and meaning that we got a lot of people have different definitions of meaning, but me as an immigrant, it gives me something to look forward to. But then in that case, I met my wife in high school. My 10th year of my first year of high school, I met Milena.
Is she 25?
No. We're not going to let her listen to this.
wait for her to
No,
hear
she's
this.
not going to listen to it. I want to be like, no,
You're gonna message us.
Oh, I'll send her the link.
it's locked.
Because is she older or younger than you?
Same age.
Same age.
So I met her, and that's when love struck.
Aw.
And I was...
And she's Cuban.
She's Cuban, too. Yeah, she's from the country. I'm from the city. So, but then I met her in high school. And then that's why I mean love, right? What's love? So why do you need love in your life? Well, that's when I realized, okay, now I have a person that I love. What can I do now? Right? What am I going to do for that love? So we dated like for 4 years while we were in high school and a year after high school. And then she's like, if you want to get married, you got to do something.
What are you waiting for?
So that's when I joined the military because of her.
Okay, so you joined the military to have employment?
To have employment and
Okay.
to be able to marry the love of my life.
Was it was there any sense of patriotism? It's okay.
At the beginning, no. At the beginning, it was for that purpose.
You know, it's amazing how many young service members that's the case that I meet. That why'd you join? I, got my girlfriend pregnant. I needed to be able to have a solid job. I was trying to get out of the small town that I was in. I was getting in trouble with the law, and the judge gave me a choice. Join the military, or you're going to juvie hall, or whatever the case may be. Like there's this. The military became a path towards a desired goal, or away from a destructive end. There wasn't a sense of selfless service or righteous cause behind it. And I think that's now what's fascinating is the longer I see folks in, sometimes that can get cultivated really, really quick. That sense of patriotism.
Oh, of course, that's what happened to me. Yeah. It immediately cultivate because I loved it. And I don't know if it was because my Cuba taught me so many hard lessons that when I got here and I joined the military, it was easy for me.
Okay, but hold on, because I'm hearing you say two different things. I want you to help me figure out what I'm missing. Because on the one hand, I'm hearing you say you go from this place of being very independent and self-reliant, which the military in many ways beats out of you. Like you're on a team of folks Like
And
you
have
are
to work within that team.
You have to, yeah.
You all have like an exoskeleton that everyone's the same, and it like you have to work alongside people.
Yeah, and you have to you have a responsibility to the person on your right and to your left. So this sense of like, well, I'm in it for me. That's okay.
Right.
That's not going to last very long.
No.
So for you, what did that? So now you're in this environment that doesn't. Well, that's not valued. Being self-reliant and independent, being self-responsible is obviously. So what was that like? That's not a. I can imagine that may have been a rough transition.
Of course.
Or was it?
Boot camp. I mean, I joined in 1995. Boot camp was rough. But the reason why I said that my objective was to get married is because remember, you join boot camp, and what's the ultimate goal that you want by joining the military? Right? Is I got married and I gotta provide for my wife. Isn't that selfishness?
Yeah.
Or self-reliance or whatever,
okay.
right? Right? So you join the...
I have this objective that is outside of the objective of why the Navy wants me here. I have this personal... Okay.
I got this personal goal
that
I have to accomplish. I got to get my wife out of Miami because she doesn't want to be there no more. I got to go through boot camp. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm not doing this for the people next to me. I'm not saying that I was right. I'm just saying that that's how I felt.
Sure.
I'm not doing this for the people next to me.
Yeah.
I'm doing this because I got this goal. So get out of my way because I'm gonna make it, right? So that's what happened.
Yeah.
I finished boot camp. I brought my wife to Great Lakes, Illinois, and we got an apartment in Waukegan.
Oh, really? Because that's where your A school was?
Yes.
Okay.
So
explain what A school is to folks that don't.
It's your job school. I was an electrician, so I had to go through electrician A school for them to teach me how to be an electrician. So I brought my wife. I don't care what I had to happen. I just brought her in. I wasn't able to go home only on the weekends.
Whoa.
So my wife was in an apartment in Waukegan. I don't know if you've been in Waukegan. And shout out to my people in Waukegan, but it's interesting place.
Well, people Google search Waukegan.
Waukegan, Illinois, right outside Great Lakes. So she was on this apartment by herself while I was in school from Monday to Friday, and I would come on the weekends.
Did she have a job?
No.
Okay.
No job, no car, no nothing.
Which, I mean, and your wife is an incredibly sharp, capable, hardworking woman.
Yes.
Like, this is...
You can ask her right now how she liked it in Waukegan, and she'd be like, I loved it.
Really?
Yeah.
Because
she had an apartment on her own, something that she never had.
Oh,
she was independent.
Yeah.
Right? She cooked whenever she wanted to cook, even though she slept in a mattress on the floor and we ate on the floor, but, no table.
Yeah.
But she loved it. It was a great experience for her. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because if you put me right now in an apartment in Waukegan, no, I'm not doing it.
It's interesting. We're going to cover this on the 4th of July episode, which I can't wait to get to. But there's this, I won't go into all the details because we're going to save it for them. But there's this line out of this story where the individual says, what I realized was America is the opportunity to be free. And it's the freedom to be good. Which I just love that idea, because in some ways, what I'm hearing you say, you and Milena have this chance for you to redefine what it means to be good. What does it mean to be independent of your government? I mean, even though you're in the military and you're earning your way, like you're not conscripted by the government, right? You have made the decision this is what it's going to be. I get to define what it means to be a good husband. She gets to define what it means to be a good wife. Even if that means we're we don't have any furniture and we're sleeping on a mattress that's on the floor. But this is ours. There's this freedom to then we get to define the parameters of this because this is what we get to define as good.
And back to my comment, right? You cannot do that without love. And in my life, there was no love in Cuba. It is hard to find love.
What was it? If it's not love, what is it?
Pleasure, doing things for pleasure, doing things for material things, to survive. There's no desire there's no feeling of loving somebody to that point, right? Because you are in the surviving mode at all times.
So there's famously there's a kind of a way of defining. The Greeks had 4 different words for love. So I want you to tell me. I want to make sure I'm hearing you right. The one of the words in Greek is phileo, which is where we get our word phile, meaning brotherly. It's a brotherly love. Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, right? So it's a love you have for your family members. Like I love them. Phileo. So then there's eros, which is where we get our word erotic. I like to call it boomerang love, right? It's love that I give because of what I'm going to get, right? So our word erotic is like it's a I love that pizza because of how it pleasures my taste buds, right? I love that woman. Well, what you actually mean is it's because of the sexual desires that are satisfied through that. Or I love that sports team because they're winning right now and what they do to my sense of, or whatever it is, right? It's this very self-serving love. But then there's agape love, which is the love, and all of these loves are found. I don't know if eros is found in scripture, but phileo love is, and agape love is. And agape is for God so loved the world. So God so agaped the world that he gave. And it's a love that is sacrificial. It's not love that is extended because of what's received. It's love because of the character of the person who's extending the love. And the first time that I really felt that at the beginning of any relationship wasn't with my wife. Because in some ways that was like, it was friendship love. There was a bit of eros because of like how I loved being around her and what I got out of it and made me feel good and things like that. And agape comes, right? You grow into it. But the first time I really felt agape love, like it's total selfless love, was when my kids were born. Because it was like, they do nothing for me. I get nothing out of this. But nonetheless, I love them, right? So there's this sort of selfless love that's extended. What I'm hearing you say is that kind of brotherly love may be present. That eros love was certainly present, but that sort of like sacrificial love wasn't there.
Not transactional.
Yeah. That's
exactly what it is. Yeah.
Selflessness.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And again, that's my experience, and that's what I experience in Cuba, right? That doesn't mean that everybody
had that.
Has their own thing. Yeah. That's what I experienced. I'm not doing things just because of my character. I'm just doing it so I can get something back. Yeah.
And we're going to press pause right there. This is a good conversation.
It was.
And it's always fun sitting down with a good friend and hearing them share the story. Because I've heard a lot of his story, but you haven't.
No.
So I'm glad you were having this opportunity. But the conversation went a lot longer than we anticipated.
Right.
And I am always up for good, healthy conversations. Yeah. So we're going to pause right there. We're going to finish up the conversation in the next episode. So be on the lookout for that. In the meantime, you can
share, follow, rate, and review this podcast. By doing that, you would help us out a lot. So go ahead and do that. We have an Instagram page. Just search up Resilient Lineage. We have a Facebook page, Resilient Lineage.
You can email us, hello@thisresilientsoul.com. If you would like to reach out to Hans, reach out to us. and I will pass on your message to him. If there's anything you would like to say to him or encourage him, or anything that maybe you were challenged by, if you have any questions for him, he's completely open to receiving that information. So just reach out to us, and you can do that in a variety of ways. You can email us, hello@thisresilientsoul.com. If you do that, we'll get that in our inbox, and we'll get a reply to you right away.
Alrighty, guys. We hope you guys have a terrific week. We'll see you next week. Enjoy your day.
Go with God. Be at peace.